I remember the exact morning everything changed. It was July 2021. I woke up early, made my coffee, like I always did. And a few sips later, I was having my first panic attack. At first, I thought, what is happening to me? But now, looking back, I'm not sure that it was really a panic attack. I think it was years of ignoring myself catching up with me all at once. Hi, I'm Helen, and if you have watched my first two videos, you know that I eventually left Canada and started over. But this isn't a story of how I moved. It's the story of why I finally couldn't stay. The interesting thing is, I didn't wake up one day and suddenly want to leave. This had been building for years. I had already been thinking of relocating. I'd always dreamed of starting a life somewhere else. But I kept pushing the idea aside because it felt too big and too uncertain. And then COVID came. Everything got quieter, there were fewer distractions, and I couldn't outrun my thoughts anymore. I started realizing that I was not excited about my life the way I used to be. I'd still do all the things, like go to concerts, out for dinner, birthday parties, friends at bars. I don't even drink. But I'd still go because that's what we'd always do. Sometimes I would take a little bit of mushrooms, the psychedelic kind, or cannabis, thinking that maybe I just needed to relax or have fun. But even that wasn't fun anymore. And that scared me. Because these were the things that used to make me feel alive. Because I started noticing patterns in my own life that I couldn't ignore anymore. I grew up in a dysfunctional home, and even though I had done a lot of work on myself over the years, I was still repeating patterns that weren't serving me. I felt stuck. I started craving different conversations, different people, more depth, more honesty, more human connection. The friendships around me, they weren't wrong. They just no longer matched who I was becoming. The conversations that once felt exciting started becoming surface level to me. And I realized that was a hard thing to remember. It wasn't my life that had changed, it was me. Then came that rainy day in July of 2021. I woke up anxious, which was not normal for me. I made my coffee, I sat down. I took a few sips, and after that, my heart just started to race. My body felt completely out of control. Nothing had happened. No emergency, no bad news, just me. Finally unable to ignore what I had been feeling for a very long time. I looked outside. It was pouring rain. One of those heavy summer storms. Something inside my head said, go and sit outside. And so I did. I walked out on my patio and I plopped my butt in a chair. No umbrella, no plan. I just sat there and let the rain fall over me. And somewhere between the rain and the tears, I stopped trying to convince myself that everything was okay. I admitted something I had been avoiding for a very long time. the life I was living no longer aligned with the person I was becoming, or the person I had become. So over the next 3 months, I stopped asking myself if I should leave. And instead I started asking myself, how can I make this possible? I didn't have a lot of money. I did not have a lot of savings. I think I left with like $2,000. But about a month before I left, I got myself an online job. It wasn't glamorous. It was definitely not my dream job, and it didn't make a lot of money either. But I knew it was going to be enough to support me while I figured out my next chapter. I had a loose plan. I knew that I wanted to go to Mexico. At the time, I thought it was going to be Puerto Escondido because I had some friends out there, and well, it's always nice to start out where you have some familiar faces. So I packed my life in a few suitcases and bought a one-way ticket and trusted that I'd figure out the rest on my way. So the funny thing is, my journey didn't actually begin in Mexico, and I did not end up in Puerto Escondido either. It actually began in Costa Rica, and I spent 7 weeks there, and those 7 weeks challenged me more than I ever imagined. When I look back at it now, I don't think I could have skipped that chapter even if I'd wanted to. And I'll tell you why in my next chapter. When people ask me why I left Canada, they usually expect one big reason. But the truth is, it wasn't one thing. It was hundreds of little moments, tiny whispers telling me I was living the life that I wasn't living the life that I wanted. The rainy morning was simply the moment I finally listened. If you've ever felt like you've outgrown your life, the life that you've spent decades building, I would love to hear your story in the comments. Thank you for being here. And remember, it's never too late to begin again. Until the next one, ciao for now.